it took me 2 years and 8 doctors to get a proper diagnosis.
And then I began to feel not at all well.
There was something not right with me. I felt there was something wrong.
No symptoms and no reason to go other than just something in the back of your head saying go.
People looked at me, and you know how you can see that look of like, oh my God.
I have a husband, I have a daughter. There's no way, that I'm gonna let this beat me.
Hi, I'm Donna Shalala, and thanks for joining us today. We're going to be looking at colorectal cancer, one of the most preventable and devastating diseases that for some reason no one seems to talk about. It lurks deep inside your body. It can sneak up on you with little or no warning and is attacking younger and younger people. Colorectal cancer is the second deadliest cancer for both men and women alike. The good news is that a simple screening can detect it before it becomes cancer and can save your life. Or when caught in its earliest stages, the survival rate is an amazing 90%. Today we're going to meet several survivors who courageously battled colorectal cancer. These are their stories.
Since I can't be there with you tonight, I thought we would bring a little Tennessee to you. Here's the Tennessee Waltz for you. And I remember the night and the Tennessee Waltz. Now I know just how much I have lost. Yes, I lost my little darling the night they were playing the beautiful Tennessee Waltz. The beautiful Tennessee.
One morning, Nan Kelly showed her husband Charlie a lump on her neck.
Charlie is the one that encouraged me to go on television, which I'm on every week, in millions of homes. And he said, Nan, you have an opportunity to help somebody, to share your story, and maybe touch someone that is at home. When you know that you're not alone, something is easier to swallow.
I wanted to take a personal moment and share something with you that's happening in my life, because you're a part of it each week here on GAC. Over the next few months, I'll be receiving treatments for Hodgkin's lymphoma. My prognosis is very good, and I should be just fine on the other side. But I may not be here some days, and if I am here, I may not be my super perky self, and definitely my hairstyle will change. If you happen to be going through this time in your life, or maybe you have a friend or family member, or perhaps you're going through it right now, I wanted to share this with you in hopes that we could help each other.
What I didn't realize was what it was going to do for me.
I was the one who was flooded with the love and the care.
And I know that helped my healing process. We met on a gig at 0 o'clock in the morning to drive to Akron, Ohio. We fell in love that weekend, didn't we?
Yes, go ahead, speak for me.
We fell in love that very weekend, and years ago, watching him play on the stage.
So we're backstage at the Grammy Block Party, which is the National Association for Recording Arts and Sciences. And I'll be sound checking with Laura Bell Bundy. This is the behind the scenes. All the glamour of the music industry is really right here. The stuff you see on the other side of the stage, that's nothing. This is the real stuff. Every year I would go in, I would ask about it. And they would always say, no, you're too young. When I got to be about 38, I asked again, and they said, no, he's still too young. Let's wait till he's 40 at least. Finally turned 40, I went back in and I said, I'm bringing it up again. Trust me, I don't want to do it. It's not something anybody looks forward to. But we talked about it, 40 was the age, can we do it? And they said, okay. I went in for the colonoscopy and they found 3 polyps, and two of them were kind of standard on the stalk type of polyps. And this third one was growing flat off of the colon wall. When I was in recovery, the doctor came in and he said, we're going to send that one off. He said it was a little angry looking, and because of the way it was growing, we really need to make sure we check that one out. 3 weeks after she finished her last radiation treatment, I was diagnosed with colon cancer.
Because that was just crazy. 2 people, married people, in 7 months of each other.
I was really lucky because even though it was aggressive and angry, it was still stage 1. And when they did the resection, they didn't see any cancer anywhere else. So I didn't have to go through radiation or chemo or anything like that.
During this weekend's Grammy show, we'll probably hear a few musicians say they lived to win an award like a Grammy. But one nominee, Charlie Kelly, is already a winner after fighting a battle with colon cancer.
U.S. Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
I began to feel not at all well. I went to Washington Hospital Center. They gave me every test under the sun. And when they did colonoscopy, they didn't have to go very far to find out that that was the problem. So I really had no symptoms of the colon cancer itself. That's why I tried to emphasize the importance of getting a colonoscopy.
When I accepted the invitation to be with you at this conference, I did not know how thankful I would be just to be here.
I think we know our bodies better than our doctors do. We live with them. You know when your biorhythm feels off or something doesn't feel quite right. Even though there's no symptoms, you know there's something wrong. I always say that you need to find a doctor that hears what you're saying. But fortunately, I had one of those doctors. He said, you know what, put your mind at ease. Let's undergo a colonoscopy. I was awake. I was like, oh, this is really interesting. Let me watch. So it was fun. I'm like, what's that? I saw this big mass on the screen. And my doctor said to me, he goes, you have colon cancer.
Who's on today?
Julie Green and her middle schoolers produce a daily news program for their school.
I discovered I had colon cancer because I was having blood tests every 3 to 6 months for cholesterol because it was a little high. So my doctor said after one of the tests, you know, you're really anemic. It's strange. Aren't you tired or anything? I'm like, no, I feel great. And she said, well, let's investigate more because it's unusual. So she sent me for endoscopy, colonoscopy, and there was a cancer in my right colon, which was bleeding, which was causing the anemia. Didn't exercise at all before this whole cancer ordeal. So when I was going through my chemo, we started going for little walks because I figured, stay active. My doctor said, just, try to stay active, and that really helped with the side effects. So I started doing that. I'd walk, to the end of the street and back, and I'd walk maybe to the park down the street and back. So then I was going farther and farther and farther. It really made me feel a whole lot better. So after it was over, I started to jog a little bit. This is my first race. It was a 5K, and I did that 3 months after chemo.
Candace Henley drove a bus in Chicago and is the mother of 5 girls.
I wound up going to the emergency room because I couldn't keep water down. And they said, you know what, let's check you out and see what's going on. And that's when they found that I had blood in my stool. I was 36 when I was screened for colon cancer. And they said I'd had it a year prior to being diagnosed. I was scared. I didn't know what colon cancer was. I had never heard of colon cancer before then. It didn't dawn on me until after I had the surgery because I went from the emergency room to a hospital bed to surgery all within 36 hours. So I really didn't have time to process it until afterwards. And then when I came out of the hospital and I had lost 50 pounds from being in the hospital for 9 days, I was in total shock. And at that point I was suicidal because they were like, your life expectancy is 3 to 5 years. And when I saw how people looked at me, and you know how you can see that look of like, oh my God, in their face, my thought was, I didn't want my kids to watch me wither away, and their last thought of me is this thing laying in the bed. That's not my mom. So I did try to commit suicide, and I spent 5 days in the psych ward because I was like, I don't want to live. If 3 to 5 years is my lifespan, I don't want to be here. For 5 days, I had a fabulous nurse that I've never seen again. And I that was my angel. And she said to me, who could better tell your children your story than you? Because anybody that tells your story is going to tell it from their perspective. Your kids need to know your story from you. And I was like, wow. I never thought about that. Now I love life and I try to share it with everybody.
I had pain and some bleeding. I thought it was the hemorrhoids. And then I went to the doctor because of that. I never imagined that I had cancer. And then, well, the doctor recommended the colonoscopy. And well, when the results were ready, I was very surprised, you know, because I never thought that I was going to get that. And well, that's why the colonoscopy was so important, because now I know that, you know, if they discover that, you know, early, even before you have a tumor, it's nothing. They just remove the polyps or whatever, and that's it. Nothing happened. It's like nothing happened. But when you wait so long that then there's a tumor there, then it's another situation. Once you know that you have cancer, sorry. Everything changes, you know. You see life differently.
Every day you wake up, you're a survivor. Whether or not you've been diagnosed yesterday, last year, every day you wake up, you're a survivor.
A polyp is a growth on the colon wall that can either be malignant or premalignant.
Screening can prevent colorectal cancer, or at least catch it in earlier stages. During a colonoscopy, polyps can be removed before they become cancer. That's 100% survival.
The doctor is watching, all of us watch.
Feeling lightheaded at all?
It's really important that we not be afraid of getting tested. Knowledge is power. There are plenty of people that get colon cancer at a younger age. And so you have to think about what your immediate family's history is, what your eating is, and then look for the early warning whispers of it. And also, if you can just afford to get a colonoscopy at 40, there's no downside to getting it, I think.
Janine is an oncology nurse at Sylvester. She has a special empathy for her patients.
I love taking care of my patients. I don't think I would ever do anything else. I love being part of their lives. It's a very tight-knit community here. You're not alone. You'll never be alone, okay? And keeping a strong, positive attitude is a lot. My husband was 40 years old at the time, Michael. He went to see the GI doctor, and the GI doctor says, well, I think it's just a hemorrhoid. We'll do a colonoscopy. So he had his colonoscopy, and he said, I found a tumor in your sigmoid colon. I made all my phone calls. Dr. Sand says, come in, see me the next day, but go have a CAT scan. And he looks at us and he says, there are tumors in your liver, too numerous to count, and there looks like 2 spots in your lung. That's when colorectal cancer became the staple of my vocabulary, because now I truly can relate to my patients. I have so much respect for my patients, the courage and the hope that they have, that they sit in these chairs every week, every day, and take that and they have such a strong will to live.
This is cancer when you're diagnosed in later stages. Chemo drips poison into your body, but chemo is also your friend. Michael, EJ, Vicky, and Marie are actively battling colorectal cancer now. Although 50 is the recommended age for being screened, they were all much younger when they were diagnosed.
Once we sit in that chair, we pretty much know why we're here, and we're getting this done so we can see another sunset, another sunrise, so I can spend more time with my beautiful wife.
This is 2005, so we had the colonoscopy, woke up,
My wife is crying. I'm coming out of a daze, and the doctor said, we found a lesion on your rectum. And he said, you also have it in your liver. But he did say that if this was 15 years ago, I'd give you a year to live. He said, now, the sky's the limit.
EJ is here 6.5 years after he was diagnosed with stage 4 rectal cancer. He's had cancer in his liver, in both lungs, in his ribs, and he's endured radiation and 128 treatments of chemo. Now he hopes that radiation can cure the phantom pain in his back, where his ribs used to be.
We ended up down here in Orlando, breath of fresh air, that I knew that there was MD Anderson was where I was going.
He has a tumor that is growing out of one of his ribs, and it's growing into the spinal canal along the nerve roots. And so I'm using radiation to see if I could help control his pain.
I'm finding that it's no more fatigue than I would have if I was on chemo. So a week from today, I'll be done with radiation. And then I'm rescheduled already for August 15th to go back on chemo. So the machine basically goes around and hits me 8 different times. Again, for like 25 to 40 seconds each one. I just sit there and, pray for them to be done so I can bring my arms back down. It's uncomfortable. So I think I had 128 sessions of chemotherapy, yeah. There's a lot of chemotherapy, but I'm still here. I'm not supposed to be, but I'm still here, and I'm still fighting it. My son's getting married, so that's a goal of mine.
When Marie had her first symptoms, she went to her doctor, but a colonoscopy was not ordered. Now she has full-blown rectal cancer and no insurance.
I went to my OBGYN in October of last year. And I noticed it was a couple drops of blood when I was peeing. So I was like, okay, this is kind of weird, I didn't notice anything wrong. I was healthy, I was doing stuff, I was working, running around. And I went to my, doctor and I said, can you test it? But it was nothing. In February, when I went back for my yearly exam, I said, I've been bleeding quite a bit. What do you mean you've been bleeding a lot, And I said, well, when I go to the bathroom, it's chunks. It's not, the little one that was in October when I told you. So she checked, and it was the size of a golf ball. She goes, Marie, you have cancer. That's the first thing she said. That's in October till February. I guess it just grew. Well, I didn't have insurance, and Rob and I were planning to get married anyway. And then they said, oh, you can't be on his insurance because you have a pre-existing condition. I said, what? I'm supposed to get surgery. How am I supposed to pay for this? This is stupid, I guess, because in my mind, I don't have cancer. And usually I'm healthy. I just don't feel there's anything in me.
My name is Vicky Gonzalez. I am 44 years old. I didn't fit one criteria for it. With rectal cancer, one of the main things is people that eat a lot of red meat. I haven't eaten red meat for 20 years, but just to throw that out there. I try to eat healthy, I try to exercise, and I just try to keep a positive, but I don't let it dictate my world. I think you just have to keep living your life, which is the point of surviving, right? So when Dr. Sands told me it was cancer, I was devastated. All I could think about was my daughter. She was 12 at the time, and she needs her mom, and it was just, it was devastating. It was devastating. My husband and I are high school sweethearts, so he took it very, very hard as well. I can take the shots, I can do the IV, the surgeries, the chemo, everything, if that's what it's going to take to be here, and that's the bottom line. You just got to live your life like everything is fine, and that's it. Enjoy every moment.
Cancer can change your mindset. You begin to focus on the important things in your life that bring joy. Your family, your friends, savoring life. Every new sunrise brings the first day of the rest of your life. Here at the University of Miami's Sylvester Comprehensive Cancer Center and around the world, doctors and researchers are working furiously to try to save lives through prevention, as well as the invention of more effective drugs and treatment. But doctors can only do so much. You have the greatest power to protect yourself from colorectal cancer simply by getting screened regularly. We hope you'll call your doctor today and do just that. Catch it on arrival. 90% survival. Better yet, never get it.
Certainly going through cancer is an emotional thing, and colon cancer is worse because nobody likes to talk about it. I called up an old friend to give him the news. I told him what the doctor told me. I said chances are I'll make it through this. It's not as bad as it could be. I thanked him for being there all through the years. Through all the dumb stuff, I fought back my tears. Yeah, I choked up a little, and then I said, this too shall pass. He said, look on the bright side, Chuck. Now you'll be less of an ass. Less of an ass. We've been hoping for years you'd somehow acquire some class. When the doctor gets through with you, then you'll be less of an ass.
I'm Grace Schaefer. I'm a colon cancer survivor and the producer of Surviving Colon Cancer. When I was diagnosed in 2008, Donna Shalala threw me a lifeline, and I'm still here. We hope you now realize that colon cancer can be prevented. Get screened. The life you save may be your own.